Tico just released more information about the upcoming changes on field bosses and arch bosses, but I think that there are still things that need polishing. Recently, I keep on hearing many players saying that alliances are breaking the game. Yes, we all know it, and most of us have experienced it. Massive guilds teaming up, controlling entire zones, and making life miserable for everyone else. I'm looking to answer questions such as, is alliances really the problem? Will Throne and Liberty be as fun without an alliance? Do the developers need to give more changes on the Castle Siege? We're going to talk about all of that along with my thoughts on the whole update. With that, let's dive straight into the video. First of all, we have to understand that alliances are one of the main attractions of this game. It is also one of the most complained problems in the game because players are now slowly realizing that it is the one destroying the fun in the game for them. On every server, there's always going to be this one dominant alliance that is going to solo every world PvP content in every server. It's almost inevitable at this point. It's like the biggest alliance in your server is the Empire, and anyone who's not in their alliance is only a peasant who is there to entertain them. To counter this, the losing 4 guild alliances are often going as low as opting into making a mega alliance where 2 alliances would handshake to make an 8 guild alliance to help each other beat the whole server. With this, every event is basically on lockdown, and all the loots are funneled into their alliance with other guilds having no chance to contest the loots. And the Throne and Liberty developers are adamant on keeping the alliances. That's why I think that the upcoming changes on the field bosses, where it would become GVG instead of a server-wide shitfest, are a good change. Because every time that we were told to charge into a zerg of enemies, this is what I imagine. In the recent Tico talks, Tico mentioned having 3 portals on the new field boss update, where the first portal leads to a peace boss, the second leads to a faction where you'll be matched across all over the server, giving a chance to players not in the top guilds to have a chance to gain loot. And the last portal is called a guild portal, where you'll be matched against other guilds. The matchmaking will be based on the player data and the number of players online on each guild. This is great and all, but arch bosses have the best of the best gear currently in the game, and every guild wants a piece of it. And dominant alliances and sometimes mega alliances usually solo this content with the whole server having close to 0 chance of getting it. The changes on the arch bosses are that they're going to spawn 2 arch bosses simultaneously, so that mega alliances would be forced to make a decision on whether they should split or just secure one arch boss, leading to the other 4 guild alliances having a chance to get arch boss weapons. But the saving grace for all of the players to have a chance of getting an arch boss weapons is the peace and faction option being added to it. But I still think that this could become a double-edged sword for Throne and Liberty. Yes, the players are happy because they would have a chance to gain arch boss weapons. But at the same time, arch boss weapons now won't feel as special or premium. I'm predicting that in the 3rd month when this update is released, it won't be surprising if the value of arch boss weapons drops by half. And there will come a time when arch boss weapons won't be special anymore. Field boss weapons would also become dirt cheap because who wants a second-rate weapon when you can get the best for cheap? The development team is already aware of this problem, and in fact, they also want to keep the arch boss weapons premium. That's why I'm curious what kind of changes they would make to make this happen. There are also changes that are happening in how we play PvP. For starters, they've mentioned that they are aware of the cheaters using autoblock cheats. They won't mention this if they're not confident, or at least they have something in development coming to reduce the numbers of these kinds of players. To be honest with you, I don't really think that they would ban the players that are using this, but they will most likely just give a suspension to the players, which really sucks, especially for us who play the game fairly. Other changes include making the movement smoother by removing the slow when you enter combat. A buff for our melee players is coming. The next update introduces an increased range of the basic attack for our melee players, which is a much-needed buff for them. And skills are more fluid, which is very big for me because as a bow player, I really feel like a decisive shot is very clunky. That's why whenever I use it, I don't feel cool, so I use it last even though it does big damage. The one that I'm skeptical about is the changes on tab targeting. They've changed targeting so many times that I don't have any hopes on how they could make targeting better on this game. Click targeting is also changed. While I'm not really hopeful about this, what piqued my interest was the option of removing the ability to click your alliance members and guild members in battle. As a DPS player, this should be a decent change. Zerg alliances are definitely happy with this. They're also showing love to the PlayStation players, but not enough love to put them as a priority, because this change on improved target visualization, target display, and monster-type indicators on nameplates is not coming until April. At this point, PlayStation players are like the middle child in the game. The last change on PvP is going to be the raid frames, which will make it easier for shot callers and members to move as a unit. As for the Castle Siege, we can't really make it an alliance on alliance because there are not enough servers for that. So let's just say that we are not changing anything from the Castle Siege because who wants 10 Lucent anyways? But in all seriousness, I do think that they need to introduce further changes to Castle Siege to make it better. Currently, when you look at the Castle Siege, you would think that the defenders are at a massive disadvantage because it's them versus the whole server, right? Yes, they're severely outnumbered, but currently if you're not one of the defenders, most of the players would just be there trying to have fun and rack up some kills, which there is nothing wrong about because they've already accepted that they're not going to get the throne. With guilds now opting into creating 8 guild alliances, coordinating to keep the castle to themselves is the main problem. I think that the choke points are very well placed, and personally, I wouldn't change anything from the map. But I think changes on how mega alliances affect the Castle Siege should have been in their update as well, not just the field bosses and archboss contents. Though I'm extremely happy and thankful about the changes, I just feel like they could have at least mentioned an upcoming change on the Castle Siege, since it's the pinnacle content of the game. Because what ends up happening in this situation is you're getting pinched by the mega alliances. You could wipe out the first wave of the alliance, but since you don't have any more cooldowns, the second alliance would just then wipe you, and then they would just rinse and repeat this. That's why you can't really blame players for making 8 guild alliances because this is the current meta of the game. If you're not cheating, then you're not trying is the name of the game currently for Castle Siege. If this isn't fixed, I won't be surprised if we need another server consolidation in the upcoming 3 months after the release of Talandre, because obviously the losing alliance would be demotivated and most likely just quit the game until the sole standing alliance remains in the last server of Throne and Liberty. That is how I picture the end of the Throne and Liberty if this isn't fixed. Ironic, isn't it? Their own player base is killing the game because they can't do anything about the mega alliances on Castle Siege. Ending this on a lighter note, I think that the developers deserve big praises for the current changes added in the game, especially on the Archboss and Field Boss side. They truly used their Gigabrain to try and fix the Mega Alliance problem on bosses and how to include players who are not part of the top 10 guilds. But I think that the title of the next Tico Talks should be about Castle Siege since it's the pinnacle content of the game, and Mega Alliances are ruining it. I cannot really think of any changes that we could do to combat Mega Alliances in the Castle Siege. So maybe you could leave your suggestion in the comments so that the developers could get an idea or two on how they could go about fixing it. Also, leaving a like on this video could help to reach the development team of Throne and Liberty. But for now, let's enjoy the changes in the game, and hopefully they will give more information about this topic in the next Tico Talks. With that, see you in the next video.